Zemansky. It's been a while, my friend. Welcome back to the WP Minute.
Thank you for having me. I like the background music. It's very.
I'm fading it out. See, I'm slowly fading it out. I feel like the intro video is just not enough. Like it should fade in with some music before the timer goes away. So it's good to have you back in this emergency pod setting because we've been yelling at each other on our phones all morning, and now we're going to talk about it on video.
Yeah.
How about that?
It's been a fun morning for sure.
Let's do a quick recap. You've broadened your horizons. You just get back from CloudFest in Germany. You had a great time. All thumbs up for the CloudFest experience.
Yeah, it was great. I published some content with Christian Taylor. Met a lot of great people out there. A lot of good connections. So yeah, they work hard, especially the hackathon team. Shout out to Carol and everyone. They put on a great production there. Seemed like everybody had a great time, and that park is wild. It's definitely a festival atmosphere. So it was great.
There was a lively discussion in the WP Minute Slack. If you're not a WP Minute member, you can join for as little as $5 at infinity. $5. If you like what we do here, you like our content, you find it valuable, go to thewpminute.com/support, and you can give us $5, $25, or join the annual Sustainer membership for $79 a year. It really helps us produce the content that we do for the WordPress community, and you get access to Slack, and you can see some of these conversations happening in real time. The WPminute.com/support. CloudFest seems like the place to be these days, and I'm hoping that the same excitement comes back for WordCamps, especially the capstone WordCamp events. Anything that you looked at CloudFest and said, "Boy, WordCamp could do this, and it would be better."
I mean, CloudFest.
Besides a roller coaster, and what I saw was like a wrestling ring,
Yeah, there was a boxing ring stage that they also did have an actual boxing match on. There was, obviously it's in a theme park, so it's hard to compete with that. They had the server throwing competition. I mean, again, it's just a festival. It's people coming together, not just for the talks, but for all of that. WordCamp could probably pull some of that, some inspiration from that. There is going to be a CloudFest USA counterpart in November too, so there's just a lot kind of going on there. But I think at a super high level, the thing that, if you're comparing the two, CloudFest focuses on like the experience more than just the talks. That it's like a whole well-rounded thing. It's like going there as more of almost like not like a vacation, but more of a destination, so to speak, with a lot more things going on than just specifically the business aspect. But a lot of people still have the business mindset when they're there. So it's I don't know, definitely some inspiration to take in that regard. Yeah, for sure.
We'd be remiss not to also promote PressConf happening
100%.
At the end of this month. Today is April Fool's Day, and we're kicking off into also my birthday month, but PressConf month as well. PressConf.events. You can join, or you can go to the website and check out all of the good stuff there. I'm doing this while I'm trying to find it in my share screen so I can do that right there. PressConf.events, April 23rd through the 26th. Check it out. It's definitely the business conference. Let's do another plug. Mark, what are you most excited about for PressConf, and what do you hope to gain from PressConf when you're there?
I'm super excited for PressConf because, one, it's a shorter flight. So that's fantastic.
Shorter flight than Germany, you mean?
Yeah, shorter flight than Germany. Yeah, that's fantastic. So, like staying in the continental United States, that's fantastic. Excited for the warm weather. Excited for a lot of the talks. I will be on the stage in some capacity. So I'm not sure. I can't remember at this point if we've talked about all that yet. So I'll keep that somewhat under wraps. But I am a speaker, so that's a huge first for me. That'll be fun. I think that everything that I've heard and watched from your vlog archive from Pressnomics, you guys should all go check those out. That is probably something that I may try to do a little bit there because it's a different environment. Sounds like we're going to be in the room for most of it. There's not going to be a lot of, external conversation like elsewhere. You're going to be like there for the talk, so to speak, and then you're going to be and then you're going to be, like break for lunch, come back, whatever. And then there's going to be events and things like that. So it's going to be a little bit of a different vibe, but I think all of the conversations are going to be productive and business focused rather than, maybe just some other technical type things. And more than anything too, I think there's going to be a lot of great people there in the space that I've either met in person or haven't met in person just yet. And, that was the difference with CloudFest. I feel like it was just kind of over in Europe. So there's definitely a good community over there, but just being in the United States, there's, it's going to be another good community outing there as well. So very excited for that. And it's coming up fast.
What a transition by our friend of the show, Max. Hello from Germany. Was there a controversy going around? I didn't catch that. This whole professional thing, or is that usual Kevin Geary professional definition people don't agree with? Kind of close there, Max. But thanks for watching today. As you can see, it is an emergency pod, as I like to do. I give myself the grace to have some clickbait, Mark.
Yeah.
I can't just let all these other YouTubers just do it and gain riches off of it. I too must clickbait.
Yeah.
But it was a lively discussion in the WP Minute Slack, Max, where this kind of all spawned from, and something that I feel maybe, Mark, you've been thinking about for a while, right? Like that definition of what a WordPress professional is. Let me loosely frame it how I think you see it, or I see the struggle with it, and then you can unpack it from there. But when I started this whole thing 20-ish years ago at my own agency, I also looked at the space and said, how do I do this thing? How do I do this WordPress agency thing? And I started to just, throw spaghetti at the wall, figure things out. And then as I discovered there was a WordPress community, right, which I, like a lot of folks, don't realize that there is one until they do a WordCamp or a WordPress meetup, which was my first, entry point to it. And then going to WordCamps, and I'll never forget, like the whole genesis behind me starting the Matt Report was I'll never forget going to, I think it was WordCamp NYC 2011 or 2010. And Andrew Nason, who was one of the lead / core developers of WordPress, many, many moons ago. I remember him walking down the aisle in the auditorium that we were in, wherever it was in New York. And I remember people being like, oh, it's Andrew Nason. It's Andrew Nason. It's Andrew Nason. Right? And I'm just like, who the hell is Andrew Nason? And why do people care? Right? And then I quickly realized that just like in society, there is this level of like celebrity that exists in, sports, Hollywood, fashion, whatever. And now I see it here in WordPress. And again, this is, 15 years ago. And I was like, I got to uncover this. Like, I need to, like, he's the guy that everybody, not taking away from him, but at the time I was like, this is the guy. And I wanted to explore what that meant. And then quickly got into the game and of knocking on doors and starting the Matt Report podcast and just trying to like find my way through this space. And back to the WordPress professional, what I learned was there were a lot of people who were what we might call like gatekeeping. You're not doing it right if you're not doing this. And I was like, no, I'm a WordPress agency too. Like I'm trying to figure this stuff out, and I feel like I am right there with you. You just happen to have more zeros at the end of your paycheck or your customer quote, whatever it is. And perhaps I've lost that same kind of like perspective as years have gone on. But I think that defining the WordPress professional for me is somebody who is who cares about the work that they do. That might not even be the right phrase for it, but who cares about the work that they're doing, solving the customer needs the right way, whatever that means to them, and then doing it in a sense that they have a healthy business. Those are the three legs that I kind of think of the WordPress professional as. So it doesn't have to be defined by I make $1 million a year or I make $100,000 a year doing this. It's much more about I care about the work that I'm putting out. I care that it's solving my customers' needs as best as possible. And I care that I can sustain, like this is a sustainable thing. And my only experience, like the anti against that is over the course of running my agency, seeing people who just like want to profit and don't care about the customer and like don't care about what they're putting out at the same time. I've used this reference a million times. Somebody in my local area, he would just crank out sites. He'd buy a theme from Theme Forest, sell it for $1,000 and just move on. And he would like boast about it. And to me, like, you don't get the professional hat for that because you were just doing it for the quick buck. He's a real estate agent now. But you know, like to me, like I've seen it countless times. Or, you know, the sad story of like the customer comes back to you and goes, yeah, this guy charged me $5,000 and he didn't do anything. And to me, like you lose those professional points. So WordPress professional to me, somebody who cares about the work that they're doing, their customer, and their business. That's how I wrap it up. The floor is yours on any questions or concerns you have for the state of WordPress professional.
I mean, well, revenue obviously, I have some notes there. Revenue obviously does play into it to a degree. Maybe not at a level perspective, but at a, you know, like, can you call yourself a professional if you don't make any money at all? That's like that's part of it, I guess, is just one random question. Not really the main thing I want to kind of hit on. I mean, again, this conversation has kind of stemmed from a little bit of, I think the easiest way to handle this conversation is to Google what the word professional means and then go from there.
Can I use ChatGPT instead?
If you want, yeah, you can use whatever you want. And then, because, you know, we're kind of like just taking a word that has a definition and we're like giving it its own definition. And it's, to me, I just made a 15-minute video on this on my channel this morning because of all this thoughts running in my head. And I'm like, I think we're kind of overcomplicating it a little bit. But at the same time, I do realize that there's kind of like a definition of the word that is like, if you just say it in, you know, in passing or whatever, then there's like an implied definition, an implied understanding of what a professional means. You gave a good explanation offline where you were saying like the people that, you know, redid a bathroom for, you know, a couple like grand or whatever, like they did a terrible job. It's like, are those professionals? It's like, honestly, I think it would actually be easier to just call them professionals in some ways and just say they're shitty people. Like they're just shitty at what they do. They're just like shitty professionals. I haven't fully formulated that yet, but I'm saying that I just feel like professional is too broad of a term sometimes, and this is where we get into this semantic argument. So right. What's ChatGPT got here?
Yeah, pause there. So someone who does a job for money as opposed to a hobbyist or amateur, example, she's a professional photographer, meaning she gets paid for her work and likely has expertise. Someone who behaves in competent, respectful, and responsible way relating to a profession or career requiring special training or education. I think really the first one is what we're focusing on today. Someone who does a job for money, as opposed to a hobbyist or amateur, is probably the one that we're going to work off of today. What's the issue with? So what's the big issue with you on the definition? Or how people are loosely using it in the WordPress space that you're not super happy with. Maybe that's not the right phrase, super happy, but the one that you have issue with.
I mean, the conversations that I've had recently revolve around the level of like some sort of arbitrary level that professional status is acquired at. So again, referencing the video earlier today, it was kind of like, who gets to decide that? Is kind of one way to do it. Because again, we've had conversations, especially in the WordPress space, where it literally sounds like people paint a picture where this is a specific example, but it's to illustrate the ridiculousness. It's like a loop. It's like an if statement. If you're using version control, then professional. Like then you're a professional. If not, then you're not a professional. So it's like, that's one of those things where like I understand that at certain high levels and stuff like that, there are kind of like levels to what you have to do. But then the question becomes, it's like, do you have to use version control to be a professional? Again, it's just one example, but I'm saying
Yeah.
like that's literally what I've heard. It's like that's kind of a weird argument to make, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one aspect. I think that argument is a feature of a professional. It doesn't mean that like you have to have all features. I think just like a page builder can have have many features, and a page builder might not have one feature. Another page builder has. It's still a page builder. I think it's a sign of maybe a different level of professional. I think I would imagine that I would love to hear. I mean, I know we're doing emergency pod. I didn't really promote this. There's only a handful of people on the show today or on the live stream today. But I'd love to hear more from folks in the audience, like where your level of WordPress professional and or just professional lies at. But I think it's safe to say that there are levels of professionals that wouldn't piss most people off. Like I feel like I'm a professional podcaster, but not a professional podcaster to somebody who's full-time doing it as a living. And I don't take offense to that. So if I said, Mark, you're a freelance professional versus a agency professional, or like if there was a level like that, would you take offense to that? Do you take offense to that? Or are you saying like all people are professionals regardless?
Honestly, I'm not really sure if I take offense to any of it. I'm just trying to understand it. I'm also, the other thing is that one of the ways I tried to, reach this level of clarity as well or try to understand this more, is that I put up a poll on X, and I said, kind of a little oversimplistic, but it was, are you a professional website creator if you use a page builder? 26 votes, 76% say yes so far. Interesting comments on there. So it's like, this isn't really about my emotional reaction to it. I've obviously probably comes across like that sometimes because I'm passionate about what I talk about, but it's more of just, it's a more of an emotional response about trying to understand what people are thinking, what their perspectives are. And the funny thing is that I have these conversations in the channels, and then I go and I put this out to people, and I get like a different opinion. Now, maybe it's just my audience, maybe that's the case, but like I'm getting like, interesting feedback on there. Like Derek's comment there is interesting. Pro means you get paid for your work, so absolutely. And I don't know. There's just there's other people that agree with that as well. And again, I'm not even at the point yet where I'm fully formulating opinion. I'm trying to gather the data because I'm trying to understand how other people think about this, because then that'll help me get to where I'm at as far as understanding, what I feel like most people think.
Derek Ashauer, yes, pro means you get paid for your work, so absolutely. Kevin Geary, which page builder though? LOL. And then Rob Cooper says, are you a pro carpenter if you use a handsaw? I see his point as well. I mean, I think, yeah, like my point I was giving to you this morning, like I hired a team to do our bathrooms, I don't know, 3 years-ish ago, 3 years ago. And, yeah, so like what I would call the onboarding or pre-sales experience, where before everything goes downhill in most situations, was like, okay, great, yeah, we can do it. Is that typical like, yeah, no problem, man, we can do it. We can do it for this budget. You're just gonna need these things. It's only gonna take 45 days, and like 7 months later, my bathrooms were finally done, and I was just like, this whole experience was just, not professional. And by the definition of ChatGPT, well, they made money doing a service, therefore they are a professional. I look at that as like not quite professional, in my opinion. You did a service and I paid you, but I wouldn't this is like a tale as old as time, and I think you and I talked about this, but we certainly talked about it this morning. So I'll bring up the same example. But I'm fascinated now these days watching folks, especially in the WordPress space, like throw their hands up about like coding with AI and building stuff with AI, because to me this is just the new page builder for any software. You know, like when I saw this when I started in the WordPress world and building websites for WordPress, which is still heavily debated today, of course, but you're not building things the right way if you're using WordPress, right? You shouldn't be building an app, an intranet site. You know, I'm just thinking back to things we did way back. Like, you shouldn't be building these things with WordPress. This is amateur hour. WordPress is amateur hour. And then we saw, okay, so WordPress is here to stay, you know, 2008, 2009, where people were like, okay, no, this is the real deal. And then page builders started coming out and people were like, oh, no, you're not building it the right way if you're using a page builder. You know, you're not doing things the right way. You know, to where almost like now there's a vocal audience, Kevin included, of folks who are saying like, oh, if you're not using this page builder the right way, you're not a professional. And now we're starting to like see that turn with AI, where it's like, oh, like now if you're building stuff, you know, with AI and you're not caring about, you know, what it's doing and how you get access to it, you're not a professional. So I think it's just this never ending. I think it's just almost like, dare I say, like the democratization of development that people get offended by. And it kind of makes sense, because like you go through the pain of like trying to learn it a way, which everyone tells you is the right way. And then once you finally achieve that, somebody else comes along and is doing it different. You're like, no. Like, I don't even know if it's gatekeeping. I think it's just, I don't know. I think it's just a much more emotional thing. Like you put in the sweat equity to learn it one way and it's working for you. And then when somebody brings something else up, you're just like, no, you know, you're not doing it right. I don't know what that is, but I feel like that's what happens with most people.
I mean, there's a couple thoughts. The first one is we always do this shit where we're like, oh, is this the right way or is this the wrong way or whatever? It's really a silly thing to do, because who is the arbiter of what is right and wrong? There's certain things in life that are more objective than subjective for sure, but a lot of that stuff is super subjective. And then, you know, simultaneously we say that, but then we also say there's multiple ways to do things within the parameters of the right way. So it's messy. It's not really something that I think is like extremely productive. Now, there's a couple things though. There's multiple different ways to like build a website. Obviously, we don't need to rehash this. There's many different ways. There's SaaS products, there's open source shit, there's stuff within WordPress that you can do different stuff, obviously. The next thing though is like there is a level of objectivity within that weird subjectivity realm. Like if you have like clean code as an example, it's objectively better that that's like good than not having clean code, just from a, you know, maintainability perspective of like knowing what it is when you're reading it. Like a developer wouldn't want to see the code. A designer probably wouldn't care, but they're indifferent to it, so it would be better for it to be clean. Like that makes total sense. The problem really breaks down, and this is what happens. You go so far down this like Alice in Wonderland like hole from the technical side of things that you actually forget what your main objective may be, depending on who you are. If you go so far deep, because I'm literally an embodiment of this. If you go so far deep in the technical, you forget that you're actually trying to run a business. And you forget that like in certain cases, you don't need to be 100% tuned exactly for every single aspect of it. And then we get caught back up in this label argument, which actually doesn't mean anything. And if you really take it at the end of the day, it's like, as long as you're not completely unethical and a completely unethical piece of shit, then you are making money and you are doing, like you said, I like your example, even though it wasn't the example that you gave me when we started our conversation, you know, a few hours ago. That the caring about your customer, caring about the product, and making sure that you're doing right by them and you're right by your business, that is the best way that I could right now define a professional. It has really not much else to do with the other shit. And that's really where the conversation did start, because it started for me in the channels with, oh, you got to be a version controlling developer to be a professional in WordPress. If you use a page builder, you're actually not a professional whatsoever. And that goes against everything that I've learned in the last 2 years about WordPress and the community, everything like that, which is so confusing because like everything is contradictory there. And that is ultimately where I come out on the other side. I'm like, this doesn't make much sense. And that's what leads me to like asking the community about is, are you a professional website creator if you use a page builder? Obviously that's like extremely kind of vague there, but it starts that conversation of thinking, what are we even doing here? Like trying to label people as professionals when the definition is so like baseline that it's like pretty much, if you make money, you care about the stuff that you're doing, you care about the product, care about your customers, that's pretty much it. And all these conversations we have internally, but really, again, it's like I've said this before, I said it again, like all these conversations need to have a preface, and I preface like be prefaced, and I don't do it well enough, is we don't know who we're talking to. Like this is a really big problem actually. There's technicians, there's entrepreneurs, there's a spectrum, and everybody is thinking more about tech or more about business at any given time, and they're not the same objectives, because you could want to be the best technician possible, or you could want to make the most money in your business, or vice versa, or anywhere in between. It's very difficult to talk to so many people with different objectives at the same time. And I know there was a lot there, but that's kind of the overall landscape that I see. And this is just one conversation that fits into that and makes it very difficult to actually have the conversation, because everybody has their own, perspective that they're looking at it from.
Max says, so would understanding a topic deeply, even being an expert in it and applying it pro bono, not be considered professional because you're not being paid? I think in my definition is you'd still be a professional. I think you'd probably agree with that, right, Mark? Like, unless you don't, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you just do it. You just do it pro bono. I mean, like it's probably like a lawyer. Like the best example I could give is like a lawyer that does stuff pro bono, like
or for like a nonprofit. Like I donate my time to a nonprofit and I do all the web stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, you're gonna have somebody ask you like, do you use version controlling, and you're gonna say no, and then something like that. So it's, I mean, I don't know. It's just it's tough. I mean, again, like I said, we're having the conversation because it's important, but at the same time, like that label conversation, I just feel is kind of weird. I think all I'm saying is I think there's better ways to label either like customers or people that you're trying to talk to, people you're trying to engage with. I think honestly, there's a ton of people that would get pissed off if you called them not a professional. And that's,
Yeah, let's unpack that, because I know the sticking point a lot of the time comes up with the GitHub stuff. Mark says, I like Matt's take on the bathroom remodel. To me, a professional is someone who is doing their best to do their best for the project they're working on. Payment has no bearing. I think the GitHub thing comes up a lot because it's sort of like that next level up that, well, I'll frame it from my perspective. It was the next level up for me, and probably a lot of folks who get into developing WordPress websites, where they come in just like doing a theme thing and putting everything into the theme and trying to hack something together with like if people still use like the functions PHP, and that's not even wrong. It's kind of like the right way to do it. But I think there's like these steps where people go, I'm trying to customize this site and it's doing this thing. And then you discover the world of page builders and you're like, oh, I can build this or I can do this with Gutenberg. Okay, this is starting to make sense and unlock for me. And then as you level up your business and customers are asking you for more stuff, more features or like custom features. I think when it comes into custom features, and I'll even tie this back to one of my first projects was it was a business directory. No. It was a calculator. It was a calculator, pricing calculator for a big wedding magazine in our area. It's one of the very first projects where I was just like, that I got, and I was just like, I have no idea how to build this. And then that's when we started to build our team out. And when the developers came in, they were like, oh, we have to use we weren't using GitHub at the time. We were using something else. I can't remember what the heck it was called. Another tool. But we needed version control because he was just like, I can't, like, I don't want to build this without version control. So I think what happens is that's like that sort of like next level that people get to in their journey of learning this stuff. And then, of course, like you start to realize like a lot of software is built with version control. So it's an easy argument for somebody to go, oh, you're not a professional unless you do this. I'm not saying it's right, but what I'm saying is it is a indicator most of the time to say like the bar over here for professionalism has all this stuff in it. You know, like when I look back at my bathroom guys, where did it fall apart? Hey, he was great at sales. He runs a profitable contractor company, but then like all he was doing was subletting out to all these other guys, and they're just random ass guys showing up to my house. One guy started the bathroom, then that guy like disappeared for a few weeks. He sent a whole other set of guys in, and those guys came in and did the same thing that happens in freaking websites. They came in and they go, why do they do it this way? Why is it over here? Why do they, nail this over there? And I'm like, guys, I don't know. I'm just the guy. This was my line. I'm just the guy paying the bill. I don't have the answers. You got to get the contractor back. Ruben was his name. You have to get Ruben back and ask him, right? And how many times I had these same conversations when it went from the carpenter guys to the plumbers to the electricians to the tile guys that he sent, and then they had a finisher guy. So 5 different tiers here, right? And all of this stuff was just all over the place. And I think what happens is people who have built websites for many years in a setting where they're getting paid X amount of tens of thousands of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, they have all of this stuff in place. So they look at that and they go, this is the professional way to do it. And then when somebody comes along with like a page builder who's also saying like, I'm the professional here too, the knee-jerk reaction shouldn't be, you're not a professional. It might just be like, okay, you're a professional, but we do all this. Like we can do these bigger projects. So I think there's just different degrees of professionalism. And I think that you have the major leagues, you have the minor leagues. I'm not trying to say people that you're in the minor leagues. I'm just saying like, I'm fine with people who are professionally above me in, let's say, podcasting, because I realize I'm not at that level yet. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but it's, well, the first problem is it's still way too vague, because the word professional could be just a profession. It really needs it's an adjective, I feel like, to a noun, so to speak, like a professional developer, professional designer, professional whatever. So to just say you're a professional is way too vague. Like, for instance, you talked about this earlier, I think again offline, where there's like maybe an S tier ladder of professionalism or something. And we're talking about like, maybe like a 10 up or a human made or whatever is like on an A tier, and then there's B, C, D, whatever. Like if all of those people on that list are professional, then the concept becomes very simple. Where is the cutoff? Like, what do you have to know to be a professional? And then also, like, what are we even talking about? Are we talking about professional designer? Are we talking about professional developer? Are we talking professional website creator? I've been very careful to never call myself a designer, because I'm not a designer. I suck ass at designing. I would absolutely not call myself a developer, because I know a little bit of, I know a good amount of CSS, HTML, JavaScript. Obviously everybody can learn a little bit of code with AI nowadays, but like I'm not in an IDE all day, like typing away, doing all this stuff, like building, like creating code. So I'm not a developer. So we've had this question. What are you then? Are you an implementer? Are you a website admin? Are you just a website creator? I specifically put in that thing, a website creator, because that's the best way that I can describe it, or one of the best ways that I can describe it now. Being a professional website creator, I mean, that's like, what are we talking about there? It's like website's up, customers happy, business is working, like their business is benefiting from that website. That seems pretty straightforward to me. Like, you don't have to, again, I just keep hitting on the version control thing, but you don't need to version control a website for a bakery. Like, it's a little a little overkill. Now, at the same time, 10 Up and whoever doing the shit that they're doing, I'm not saying they shouldn't be doing that. I'm not saying they're not further up the rung of knowledge in technical architecture stack and robustness of what they're doing. 100% they are. You'd be silly to not say that. It's just this concept of this weird professional word that is so vague is I think it does more harm than good and causes more conversations that are silly than productive, so to speak. That level of
because you think it pushes people away, because it locks people out, because you also want to be in the room of WordPress professionals.
Fair, yeah. I mean, I guess I'm still not even clear on what like a definition of WordPress professional would be, because I haven't heard of a cutoff where
but
there would by definition there would be a level right here where like above this you're a professional, below this you're not. I don't know what that is.
Let's just say like at a WordCamp there was a room, and it was just like WordPress professionals room, but the only ones that were in there were like 10 Up style agencies, web dev, 10 Up, Oomph, Crowd Favorite, the list goes on, let's say. And you peeked in the room and you're like, oh, and the bouncer was like, no, you're not, you can't get in. And you go, well, I'm Mark Zemansky. I've been doing this for, 7 years. I got my own agency. And like, no, you can't get in. You would say, I'm also a WordPress professional. Why are they in there and not me? Like you would take offense to that. Or not offense, but you'd be like, if you showed me a room of those people that you listed and you said, Mark, do you think you deserve to be in there? There's 0% chance that I say yes to that. Okay.
Based off of find a text stature of, I don't know, 50, 60, 70 websites and 20 clients or whatever, there's 0% chance that I deserve to be in that room. 100%. What I'm saying is that the way that is described as a WordPress professional is a shit way to describe that. That doesn't make any sense. It should be like we could just say agencies making over $100 million, whatever the fuck they make a year. Like it's way easier just to say something like that rather than, oh, you're a professional. Because again, in the United States and beyond, I'm assuming, if you say you're a professional, like going back to it again, like those guys were pro bathroom people. They were professional what do you do for a living? Oh, we do bathrooms and we're professionals. And like, now there's a little bit of subjectivity there for sure, but it's like, there's also tiers to that. Maybe they were on the lower tier. I mean, it's a weird conversation to have. I feel like just saying, I don't know if it's like a weird stigma against,
well, I wouldn't
give money.
I would not. No. But hold that thought. I wouldn't give those guys, the bathroom guys, the professional label. Hands down. Right? Just far too many.
Okay, I don't know enough about them to
I can
agree or disagree with that.
I would tell you that the bathrooms look fine, but I know there was corners cut on how it was built. I know that we went over budget drastically. I know that we went over time extremely drastically. Like it was supposed to be like.
Can I stop you for a second?
60 days and it went 7 months.
Does this exist in your world? A bad professional?
No, I don't. If you're that bad, you're not a professional. If you're that bad, in my experience, you're not a professional, because a professional is on that pursuit of at least managing expectations across the project.
Okay.
I mean,
I haven't formulated a full thought around that. I don't really know if I agree with that, but
so I wonder if you were just like really pinning down like the, because Vision Rocket says, yes, there are bad professionals. So that person would agree that there can be bad professionals. So I'm curious, are you looking at it simply just as like raw definition of professional and saying, if you accept money for work, you are a professional? Or are you more on the romantic side of it like I am, whereas like I have to be I have to do these things to consider myself a professional.
I'm definitely not as romantic as you.
So you're just like, hey man, if I get paid, I'm a professional. What are we all doing here? That's cut and dry for you.
I'd probably bias that way because I think that if we keep the language as tight as possible, the problem with this is we're taking one word and we're adding like three multiple like layers to that word. So now we can't break it down any further, and that causes issues. So if we kept it more simple, then we could stack and we could say, like, again, I'm making this up, but like a good professional, bad professional, aspiring professional,
but I feel like you'd have that same
like
problem. I feel like you'd have the same issues with defining professional if there were labels for different levels of professionalism.
You would probably have it in a different way, but you would if professional just meant you get paid money for doing something. I'm playing devil's advocate because I don't know. I'm trying to work this out. If you were just a professional, by being a professional, you just get paid for being just for doing something, for providing a service. I'm a professional web designer or a web creator or whatever, and people pay me to make their website, so I'm a professional. Then now you only have one variable in that word, like one variable in the definition. You don't have to like sync all these different things up. And it's like, oh, well, what if they care about their customer? They make money, but they don't give a shit about what the tools they use. Then it's like, are they still a professional? This is exactly how like a Kevin Geary, situation comes up with his, definition of that. It's like in Kevin's definition, I could care about my customer. I could make money, but I could be using Elementor. So am I professional? That's why he asks like which page builder. And again, I'm just using that as the example. Like that is where
he would probably say no if you're using Elementor.
100%.
Yeah.
And again, that's his thing. We could, next time I chat with him, I tried to have that chat with him last time, and like I'm moving through this trying to understand it for myself. I'm just thinking that simplicity is better in some ways with the way that we define some of these things, because then we can I don't know, like I said, just that's the way that my mind works with that. We could stack different things. It's like you're a professional, can you make money? Cool. But it's like, are you a good professional? Are you a bad professional? That's another conversation, but it's like, I don't know.
Vision Rocket also adds professionalism is different, right? So defining, I'm a professional because I get paid, but then there's different, levels of professionalism. But before that thread of thought is lost, how much of this is for you? And this is what I mean by that romantic side. Like for you to be like, I want to be considered a professional for the work that I'm doing. Like, have you ever felt pushed out of the community for the way that you do your work or how you operate your agency with the tools you use and your approach, et cetera? Like, have you ever felt pushed out? And do you want people to be more respected as professional in the space?
I mean, I always try to be like more respected and try to, I don't know, increase my reputation. But I mean, we've also have, conversation. I feel like this is related to that. We've had conversations offline, and it's like, I can't alter what I think or do, or I can't play some sort of character to have more people like me or see me as a professional. So it's like trying to understand what I'm doing, what I'm trying to accomplish, and the skills that I have, whatever I'm doing, and then just being like, okay, well, and then I hear things like that, and I'm thinking, okay, it's like, it literally, again, not to beat a dead horse, it sounds like you're not a professional if you don't use version control. It's like, okay, well, I mean, like at a certain point, I'm fine with just saying like, I literally don't care. Like whatever you want to say is fine. But to a point, I like to try to understand and be like, where did you gather this perspective from? Like, how was this? What lived experiences got you to this? And then we talk about, the 20 years that people have been in this community, and it's changed rapidly, and it's going to continue to change rapidly. We haven't even seen the crazy shit that's going to happen. And I think there's a lot of bias from the past. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm saying that's a normal thing. It's probably something I'll have in 10 years as well. But it's like, it's me jumping in now and kind of seeing where everyone's at. I think there's a lot of that at play, because at a time you couldn't use a page builder or you couldn't speed up your workflow with this shit, and you had to be the dog in the IDE doing the stuff. And then now it's totally different, and people are doing just the amount of same things. And imagine, I'm making this circumstance up, but imagine if you were a developer that you never jumped in, you never got on the new wave, like you never, with the AI stuff now, like if you don't hop on this AI wave, people are going to pass you up, and you're going to be like jealous, not you, but like, and people are going to be like jealous almost at, look, why is this person making all this money or finding all this success or making their clients so happy with this AI shit when I know all the code behind here, and I don't get all that stuff. I don't have all these clients. I don't have all this stuff. It's just like, part of my perspective this year was also to be like, I need to take the technical skills that I have and actually focus on crafting a good offer and a business around these things, and do that. So that's a little bit of where I'm coming from with some of it. And I see that it's prevalent. It's like, are you going that route, or are you just going super deep into the conversations and the technical piece? And again, there's room for both, but it's really interesting how it plays out, especially depending on who you're talking to, how much experience they have, and what their lived experiences are.
Yeah. I mean, like I at the end of the day, I think you and I are on the same page. Once again, like I just think I don't look at it. I don't take, I guess my stance is, I'm not saying I'm right, but I'm just saying my stance is, like, I don't look at, let me see, Max, or somebody said, Mark said, trying to take a nuanced word and then simplify it with one definition is different than figuring out the definition of a word. You started the pod with 3 definitions of a professional from ChatGPT, and then Max just followed up with, let's see what Max says. The issue in the WordPress space is that many jump in self-taught with little theory, just a few paid projects, suddenly a career lacks depth and long-term quality, which I can agree with on Max's side as well. I think when it comes into like a business professional, can I even say that? Maybe I can't say that, so I just have to say professional, right? Because as soon as I say business professional, you're saying I'm breaking the definition, right, of professional. If I say business, then you're going to say now we're going to talk business.
I personally like business professional more because then now, if you were talking about that, then you were talking about somebody that is a professional at business. Like, and obviously we need a definition for that. We need some sort of cutoff for that. But I mean, at least now we know we're talking about, you say, if like you say professional and you're talking about it in the WordPress aspect, are we talking about a technical professional? Are we talking about a business professional? Are we talking about a community professional? It's like, it's just so vague. It's like a weird thing that I don't even call myself that, because I'm like, what does that even mean? But then it's interwoven into the rest of it, and it's confusing. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I say that the WP Minute is the best 5 minutes for the WordPress professional. So, I'm using the term, and I'm very interested to, make sure that I get that definition right. I just have a problem with.
Well, wait, hang on.
Go.
WordPress professional.
Yeah.
So, are you making this? Are you making this podcast just for people at Human Made?
Well, I don't define WordPress professional as just people in the agency space.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, we did use that as an example earlier.
I use it as an example because I know that's like that tiered level that people will use against, like, not against you, but in that conversation. There are people who go, "You're not a professional if you're not in that agency space." My definition is, I'm trying to remember what the hell I said at the top of the show. So it was just like caring about the work that you do, caring about the customer, caring about your business. The 3 C's of WordPress professionalism, which I just dubbed
trademark
on this call, which will be rolled out in my course at masterwp.com.
This is all an advertisement.
Yeah. It's that caring factor. So I have an issue. Back to my standpoint, and then my line in the sand is, I have an issue with a literal definition of professional, which I guess goes back to just the romantic side of it for me. I don't think, even though the literal definition from ChatGPT, I already closed it, was like somebody, it's right here, someone who does a job for money. Like, that's its literal definition. I don't like that definition, even though that literal definition is somebody who's because I see somebody as professional as I care about the 3 C's. And bathroom guys did not care about the 3 C's. Right? You could argue that they cared about the last C, which was like the sustainability of their company. Did they make a profit? Yes. Was it in, did they take away like caring for me and caring for the work that they did? Absolutely. So they maximize their profits. So I have an issue personally with somebody saying they're a professional if they don't care about the 3 C's. But in the literal sense, hey man, they're charging. They're a professional.
I mean, I don't know what to say, because I feel like you're in that example you just gave there, you're taking a word and you're applying kind of like the maybe some level of like the implied meaning of it rather than just doing the simple definition of it, which again I feel like does track, but I just don't know if that's like the best approach. But we could always agree to disagree there, because not like what we say is going to go for everyone anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I think this is an interesting one for Max here while you have it pulled up, because a professional approach means building solid foundations, understanding web standards, accessibility, security, performance, and continuous learning. I agree with that, but that to me, that's like a almost more of a technical professional approach, and then not just delivering what looks good. What that part of that would be like a designer professional, because they would need to know that and do that. So there's like kind of 2 competing things there. But regardless of that, anytime I hear this is, okay, well, that's great and that's important, but there is another side to it. And it's like those 2 things put together do not make you, like, you could do both of those things, and that does not mean that you're going to make money. That does not mean that you're going to have like the part of the business that's actually going to sustain and thrive. I mean, there's a good chance, if you do, best practices and things like that. But my point is, like, that's where we get into this conversation of, what the hell is a professional? Like, it's so vague. And I would just rather be more, I would add some more specificity to it. And maybe that's like slightly a moot point overall, but that's where my mind goes, because there's we have too many, myself included, we're like generalists. We have so many different lanes that we're operating in at all the same times. So it's like, you're going to say I could be a professional because I have business, but I'm not a professional because I don't use XYZ or whatever. I don't know. It's weird.
Let's go to a clip from the recent WP Minute Plus podcast episode with my good friend and WordPress professional, Mario Peshev, who runs Devrix. Loopback activated. Just thumbs up if you can hear this audio, Mark, as we go. This is just a snippet. And he is somebody who has been running an agency now for 15-ish years, ever since I've known him. Doing quite well, has become much more of an operator of the business. Here's just one snippet. If I can find the play button, here we go.
So if I have to give a specific piece of advice, is once again, figure out what your clientele wants, whether they want a bespoke solution in the first place or whether they're fine with an existing theme and the builder. Second, what do you feel most comfortable with and most confident? Everything has pros and cons. There's no one unique solution. Otherwise, the other ones wouldn't exist in the first place. So again, we just need to be aware of that. So just use what you like and what you're comfortable with, that you can provide and produce a proper solution with. And the third thing is try to figure out whether that's tapping into the type of market that you want to conquer 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. Because some of these solutions are not necessarily acceptable in enterprise, others are. There's also the type of enterprise that runs 17 different companies, and the top one is bringing, $500 billion in revenue, but then there's several others that are doing, 2 to 5 million, and they actually need your solution. And it's totally fine to just build something for the enterprise for the side brands. There's no shame in that. There's enough work in that, and this is what kind of you can serve that population. So.
This is a great episode, again, for this conversation, and he's got some great insights. So search for the WP Minute Plus. You're actually watching it you're watching this show on the YouTube channel, so you can just hit subscribe and you'll get all those videos. And if you want the audio flavor, because I'm a huge audio proponent, you can search for the WP Minute Plus in your favorite audio listening device. And I like what Mario said right there. It's just like, look, you can use any tool. And this goes back to my point. I wasn't really thinking about this when I was like referencing that, but he's just like thinking like, think about who your customer is. To me, that's that last C. Like you're thinking of like how my business is sustainable. Like I care that my business survives so that I can continue to serve these customers. Because this was a conversation I would always have with people that like rebuttal you on price or whatever. It's just like, I need to stay in business, man. Because you need me here, year 2, 3, 4, right? I need to be here for you. So I need to stay profitable. So I like that, like think deeply who that customer is and who you want to serve, work yourself backwards. So like, these are the tools I'm going to use so that I can, build this thing that I care about. And also too, like, I think he's talking about the enterprise specifically in that segment. And I think a lot of us, to your point, to your advantage is like, hey, you could be making a bunch of sites for just bakeries, small little mom and pop bakeries. That's still a professional. If you, my definition, if you care about the 3 C's, then you're a professional, regardless if you're doing these bakery sites or if you're doing like enterprise sites for $1 trillion company like Mario does.
I mean, what's funny is, listening to that and applying it to and that is a great episode. I would encourage all of you to watch it. Listening to that and applying to this conversation and thinking about my own perspective on things, I use the term nuanced a lot, as Matt, and give me shit for. And I think that humans almost like naturally want to compartmentalize things and make things simple and easy because we like patterns, we like understanding, we like black and white, so to speak, in that thing. But I think there's there's too many things that are gray though. And I actually agree with everything like Mario said there. It's like you should probably see what your client actually wants and what they actually need and almost do like not a bespoke solution for everyone, but every deal, so to speak, is its own deal kind of in a way, or at least like, that sales process type thing. And I think that kind of just goes back to the way that I think about this is that we're trying to compartmentalize like who is a professional, who is not. And I think in some ways it's easier to be like, we're trying to put this like big umbrella thing together, but in some ways it's just not. Like you could do that, but then you're going to have these types of like weird arguments of like where certain things are, where's the cutoffs, all this stuff. And I just think it's easier to just like, I don't know. I've never once just like thought about like, am I a WordPress professional or not? I've never really done that. But then when these conversations get brought up, it's like, well, why are you almost like drawing a line in the sand in weird arbitrary places with certain things? Not you specifically, but like just in general. It just doesn't, like I said, just doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. And I kind of like, I default to trying to understand, but also understanding that it is gray, it is nuanced, and I'm fine with not adding like a big label to everything or doing that type of thing. But I don't know, maybe that'll change over time.
All right, last sort of question or comment. So I think, to go back to like what Mario was just saying, and maybe earlier before when we were talking about your poll for page builders, I think I said this to you earlier today, or I've said it to you in passing before. Like, I think you can have, this is not even a hot take. This is how it is. Elementor, for example, like when I think of caring about the 3 C's, I've said this before, even like with bricks. I'm trying to frame this the right way. So, like I care, like caring about the solution that you're putting together, caring about the customer, and then caring about your business. Like when you look at it, at least this is my perspective. When you look at it on paper, and you're like, and you're just looking at like, can I keep a healthy business, right, going? If you're trying to build an agency, right? Like you as the operator, like you want to operate on your agency. Like you don't want to be the developer, the designer, the support person. Like you want to operate on a business. You would look at Elementor as a tool that increases efficiency, right? Because it helps you build pages faster, right? In WordPress. And it is a big market. So it's also, from a marketing perspective, there are probably people looking for Elementor as the solution for their website, or have already built a site on Elementor and are looking for it to extending that help. So that's like customer facing. And then there's a pool of talent that knows how to use Elementor. And from a business perspective, you would look at that and go, well, if I build an agency around using Elementor, which Nat, who I had on the WP Minute Plus a while ago, a few weeks ago, uses Elementor in his agency. That's a solid solution for WordPress, for what I would deem a WordPress professional, because it's a tool that's helping you serve the customer. There are customers looking for it, theoretically, and you can hire people that know Elementor, which helps your sustaining of the business. So yeah, like I think in the definition of your tweet that you put out, or the answer to your tweet that you put out, is you can still be a professional with a page builder. And that's just, in my opinion, just one example. I said Bricks earlier because to contrast that, Bricks seems like a really good professional tool, but also like probably doesn't have as big as a market as Elementor, certainly on the customer facing side. And I would say certainly on the pool of talent side. Right? When you're operating a business and you have turnover, which you inevitably do, somebody leaves your business, your agency, now you have to find a new developer designer. What would you rather do? Like onboard somebody to learn Elementor or onboard somebody to learn Bricks? Like where are you going to have probably the most success doing that? It's going to be Elementor because it's just it's just a more vast of a tool.
I mean, I see where you're
or
going.
Are you not liking the fact that I called Elementor a professional tool?
No, I don't give shit labels like that. No. I think I see where you're going, and I'm 100% with you on the numbers side of it. Like if we all take off our technician hat for a second, put it to the side, and put on the business cap, totally made sense. Like the way you progressed through that.
Yeah.
The only thing that I would say as an Elementor user and a Bricks user is that
you literally.
I have been, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in Elementor now for projects. Right. I'm in Bricks for project. Yeah. The only thing I would say there is they are not equal. And this is a big asterisk.
The tool is not equal.
The tools. The
tool is not equal.
Yeah, well, obviously the size of them and shit is not equal. The market is not equal for them. But the tool is not equal either in certain ways. Like, and this is where I'm gonna like say something and you can rebut it if not, but I kind of said this to you earlier, is I think there's a level of, this is with everything. When you don't know about it deeply enough, obviously, there's assumptions made. And I think there's a lot of assumptions made about page builders that they're all kind of equal in some sense. And at the core of them, they are shit that throws shit in the database rather than creates flat files, uses Git, like whatever. Like, yes, in that case, they're all the same effectively, I guess, to some degree. Maybe not every single one, but a lot of them. But like there is a palpable difference in efficiency, I feel like, even past your workflow in like a Bricks versus an Elementor, at least from my personal workflow. I felt like I was pretty good at Elementor. Felt like I'm pretty good at Bricks now. I feel like there's a palpable difference there in efficiency that has to be somewhat calculated into that equation. So if that's the case, then as a business owner, I would be looking at my CTO. I'd be like, hey, which one of these is better for us? Not just from the market and from the talent that we could get, but also from us building these things. If we could build a website in Bricks, or we could build a website in Grade, and we could reuse all the shit that we create as we're using it, versus like, kind of like maybe like an Elementor that doesn't necessarily have that set up. Obviously they're doing a revamp and everything I'm saying, but like those types of technical situations are where you would have like, I feel like a CTO, so to speak, if you were having the business conversation and would have that. And I think that there's a little bit more nuance to that part of it. So I would just say my point there is it's not just about the market, so to speak. There is a little bit of a difference even within the page builder tool, because I feel like partially what you were saying there is like that's the only variable that matters is the market part of those tools. And I don't think that's, I don't know if that was the exact point you were making, but I feel like that's needed to be added.
That's a great addition, Mark. We're going to wrap it up there. We've been going at this for an hour.
I appreciate it, bro.
Thanks for hanging out today. We're going to share this window one more time. It's Mark Zemansky.
Oh.
Find him on YouTube. Search for Mark Zemansky, where he's going to live stream till nobody's watching live streams anymore. This man will
Exactly.
will do videos
Yeah.
whenever, wherever. He's an inspiration. Mark Zemansky.
Thank
Search
you.
for him on YouTube. The WP Minute, thewpminute.com. I thought this track had a beat to it, and I was waiting for like the beat to drop, and it's just not coming. It's just not coming. I was going to raise up the. Here it is. 20 seconds in. No, it's not even. There's no beat. It's the WP Minute. Thanks for hanging out today. Join the newsletter at thewpminute.com/subscribe. Thanks for everybody who hung out today. Max, Mark, Vision Rocket. What else did we have up in here? I think that's it. I think that's it for the folks who chimed in. As always, thanks for hanging out. We'll see you in the next video.